Falcon units, my name is RoxTytan, and welcome back to match highlight analysis videos. It's been a while since I've done these, so if you're new here, at least in Season 1, I used to do basically videos where I'd take the matches, high-profile matches that I thought were interesting, go through them, go through like 5 to 7 different highlights or clips that I think are interesting, talk about why I think they're interesting, maybe some in-depth stuff that you never noticed or realized before about Echo, and basically just talk about it a little bit. I usually go through higher profile matches around Master, maybe High Diamond. And yeah, basically right here we've got Project Mayhem versus Illumidooty, and let's jump right into it. And our first clip is right at the beginning of round 1. We have Project Mayhem following on the joust. So they come forward, they win the joust. A little bit of a wild headbutt there. It goes bouncing back, but gets picked up by their second stack. It gets passed back to the first stack, who's on the floor spread out. A quick pass to Palace and a little bit of a ding off the side. Then gets grabbed by QL, picked up by B-Love, who then scores off of a punch goalie. So the interesting thing about this is that the way Project Mayhem positions both their stacks at the beginning. So we'll notice the second stack actually is what we're going to first look at. And so even though they're kind of playing this back stack, so that even if Illumidooty wins the joust, they're here, they can boost anywhere on their side of the arena, and they can get there and recover the disc and hopefully prevent a goal from happening very quickly at least. But also, the secondary purpose it serves is even if this is, by all means, even though Project Mayhem wins this joust, this is a pretty bad headbutt. You saw it bounce really quickly there and just bounced wall to wall and is bouncing back. Looks like it's almost going to clear back into Project Mayhem's zone, but that back stack came in really quickly there, you saw, and picks it back up, preventing it from being clear, keeping the offensive pressure on. And this stack is now a little bit out of position because they try to chase this disc that bounced so wildly. Because the back stack got there first, this stack is now a little bit behind. They're going to have to turn around and maybe fight some people. And it looks like they do get split because only Speedy makes it. The other one gets stuck back here. And unfortunately, the goal doesn't happen. But it ends up happening right afterwards. And the second thing I want to look at in this clip is Illumidooty stacks. Because even though they lost this joust, if we look at the minimap, they stopped right there. Immediately after losing joust, they were able to grab onto double diamonds, turn around super quickly, immediately recognizing they lost it, still staying together and immediately boosting it back to chase this disc. Now, unfortunately, they didn't read it quite as well as they could have, and so they didn't get to the disc first, but still super impressive, stopping there immediately, recognizing the loss, turning, staying together, and almost getting to that disc in time. Then we can see here that even though their stack got broken up and Burbs get caught out, we actually see Burbs grabs and stops here. You might think this is kind of weird, since all 4 Project Mayhem players are inside the bubble. Why would he stop on this block and just sit here like he is? Because he sees his teammate gets the disc, and if he had maybe like another half a second with the disc, he would have been able to get a slap off. And if he would be able to get it slapped off anywhere, into the ceiling, into the wall, into the floor, Burbs would be able to get there and hopefully take possession of that disc. So instead of it just being a slap backwards by QL to open space where they would have had to chain to it, Burbs can hopefully recover it wherever it gets slapped to. And so that makes it Illumidooty's possession as soon as, assuming QL can get the slap off. Unfortunately, though, he has 2 people on him. He doesn't get it off quickly, or as quick as he could have maybe. Or he got punched immediately. I don't actually know if he had enough time. And then, again, the goalie gets stunned because Project Mayhem has all 4 players in the bubble, putting a bunch of pressure on. They get the stun on the goalie, and they get the goal there. So we go to the second clip here. We see Palace with the disc. Has a little bit of a wild clear, kind of hard to read. We see the Project Mayhem stack misses it. Then we see Speed comes in, gets his first hand on it, but slaps it down. Unfortunately, hits the block. Then Vanzi with the pass over to the Law, who puts it in. Now, not a super impressive play at this, just on the surface, but if we look at the Project Mayhem players that just what all 4 of them are doing, we'll see some. So Vanzi here gets the disc, obviously. So he punched Speedy, passes the disc, gets the assist, and then Law gets the points, right? Vanzi and Law, very clear, obvious roles in this play. The 2 less obvious roles are Palace and B-Love, where we see B-Love positions himself here. He sees he's not getting to the disc first, so he stops here immediately, waiting for the slap clear. Now, he knows the slap clear is coming because Vanzi's pressuring Speedy really hard. So this clear is going to get, this is going to get it slapped immediately. He just doesn't know exactly where, so he's putting himself in this position where he's covering this middle lane. He's kind of covering, it's kind of hard to imagine or see from this angle, but he's covering the lane towards like Bowtie and towards the middle of the field where we see there's another player on Illumidooty. He's kind of covering that lane, so if Speedy slaps it that way, he can hopefully get an interception. The lane he's leaving open is this one at the bottom towards the tunnel, towards the same side wall along the wall. But the reason that that's okay that he's leaving that open is because he knows that this lane is more important, because if the disc gets slapped here and it gets picked up by a Illumidooty player, then Illum now has possession of the disc. Whereas if it gets slapped down the tunnel behind him and down this way, he and Vanzi are going to be able to get the stack together and get there immediately, because there's no Illum stacks to be seen. Not even close to getting together. Vanzi will get the stuns on Speedy like he does. And then Burbs and Vanzi, even if this gets cleared all the way through tunnel to the other side, they're going to have the first stack by far, and so they're going to get there super early. So Bilo positioning here is covering basically Speedy's only decent option. He can maybe slap it along the wall back to... No, there's nobody in goal even. So he has no really good options here. He can maybe slap it high, maybe get it like loose somewhere. But the best he can hope for is a loose disc where he has to chase it down. Whereas... And then we look through here. Vanzi passes it. And we see here then, we look at Palace's position in this goal. Kind of open down at the bottom. Moves up, pressures the goalie, gets a stun on him. And then is hanging at the bottom of the goal. So he puts the goalie out of his position, gets the stun off on him. So when Law comes and takes a shot, the goalie's still recovering and trying to reposition, recenter himself in the goal from the stun. You can see right during the windup, Burbs is on the left side of the goal. Law shoots at top right, and Burbs is still moving towards the center of the goal as the shot gets taken. And so he's a little bit of a harder shot to save because he still had to move and still had to take that shot, or still had to move and position himself to save that shot. And we can also see what Palace does after that is he gets a stun, so putting the goalie out of position, and he goes immediately below the goal here. So if the goalie is able to get back in position, if Law's not feeling confident in this shot, he can always hit this open hand right here, and this immediately a bottom pocket dunk. There's no chance Burbs is getting there to save that. Absolutely zero chance. So he's knocking the goalie out, making the shot a little bit easier, but in the event that Law is still not feeling comfortable with the shot, he's giving him an extra open outlet that's a guaranteed goal here. And so even though B-Love actually didn't end up getting any picks on this throw here, because the slap ended up hitting the block and just goes back in the hands of Vanzi. And even though Palace doesn't end up getting this pass here for this dunk, they're still putting themselves in useful positions, giving their teammates extra options, giving them extra utility, and helping them out, even if they don't get used, it's still good that they did this. And so it's important that that players don't just see that they do something like this that's good, but don't get it like an immediately positive result, and then they just think that it doesn't matter. Because it does matter, because if Speedy had slapped that a little bit higher, it would have hit the bounce here, it would have bounced up, B-Love would have been able to grab it, and then they would have had the same pass to Law at the shield. They would have the same situation with Palace under the goal, and the play would have gone exactly the same, even if Speedy hadn't slapped it into the disc, or into the geometry. The next clip we have is an Illumidooty launch, where QL immediately grabs the disc, waits a little bit on Nest, takes his time, makes a little bit of a dangerous pass over the tunnel, but it gets through. Comes over to Burbs in the center diamonds, who hits it right back to Speedy. Speedy then back passes it to QL, controlling the disc, playing slowly. They're again just controlling the disc, whip back to QL. QL sees a long pass on the floor, takes it, unfortunately doesn't get through, but Burbs is luckily on the backboard, able to recover it, takes his time up on shoulder. Whip pushes into bubble, and then QL takes a spot on shield, unfortunately missing the pass, and then getting punched out here by Palace, and Project Mayhem again gets the clear. Now, not an impressive play, again at the surface, just because Illum ends up not having a successful offense, but just the way that they play all their interactions is super well done, because we see here first, Project Mayhem's running a stack here. They had the first player over here who's just out of frame, who got lost, but this stack is still together. They're still pressuring this disc that's still traveling. But we see Burbs doesn't panic with the disc. He just grabs the disc, moves up out of the way. The stack's a little bit broken up now. He's taking his time and getting it back away. Now we have another stack getting together here. So again, they just back pass it, controlling it, doing a super good job of not panicking when they're under pressure. We see the pass goes to Wit, and he's immediately under pressure by Palace, and he has no problem, even though it feels like you're not getting anything from QL passing this to Wit passing it immediately back to QL. It feels like you're not doing anything. But Wit recognizes that he's under pressure and he doesn't have time to look for a better option. And so retaining the disc and keeping pressure is still keeping possession is absolutely an okay thing to do, because it still puts them in a much better position than most of his other options. Again, the pass here missed, a little bit unfortunate, but Burbs there to pick it up. And again, Burbs, even though he finds himself basically like right behind the goal where a lot of strikers really like to be, he's floating, so he's not comfortable going in for the anchor shot. He's got a pressure coming up from below. He's got the goalies watching him, and so he's going to take his time. He's not going to panic. He's going to walk up with the disc, just take his time, look for it, just wait. He's not under pressure, so he's not going to hold the disc. Finally sees QL cutting in because Wit breaks the defenders in front. Unfortunately, QL's not able to get there in time because it just goes off the bottom of the shield there, and it doesn't work out. But even though this doesn't work out, this is Illum playing super smart, just and playing super calm. This part at the beginning where Burbs takes a disc and just jukes a chain instead of like panicking and slapping it back somewhere, where Speedy passes it back to QL again, just acknowledging the chain, getting the stun there. Wit realizes he's in a not a good spot, makes the back pass to QL. All these are very good interactions where the players are not panicking and just keeping it super calm. Even though that was a missed pass and Burbs finds himself in a really aggressive position, he just calms down, backs it up. He's not under pressure, so he has no reason to make any rash, quick decisions. So he's going to hold the disc and just wait again. And again, it doesn't work out, unfortunately, but this is still a really good job from all the players in Illum, doing a good job playing it slow and just taking their time. In the next clip here, we see a bit of a clear from Project Mayhem. Gets picked up by Wit, who then controls the disc, moves it back to that bottom center of the arena. Just controlling the disc, makes a quick pass over to Burbs, who then finds Speedy on the ceiling and hits a nice top pocket slot for a quick goal. Now, again, not a super impressive play, but if you look a little bit deeper at this, we'll realize that all of Illum is positioning in a very interesting way in order to make this goal so easy for Speedy to get. We can see immediately here, we have all of Illum, or almost all of Illum, moving to the floor. Moving in a triangle formation on the floor here. Wit has two pretty open passes that have to be covered, and so in response to this wide floor plan, B-Love moves to the floor to pressure. We see these players are both playing to the bottom, and even the goalie is playing towards the bottom of the arena a little bit. All the players are just, again, just towards the bottom of the arena, except for Speedy, who's kind of, if we watched a little bit from a little bit earlier, moves here and stays towards the top of the arena. Kind of flying a little bit under people's radar here, not really getting covered because all the action is happening, or it looks like it's happening at the bottom of the arena. And so the Project Mayhem players are naturally responding to that by moving their players to the bottom so they can cover everybody. We have to see this player staying over here covering this pass. This player's moving over here to cover this Burbs. B-Love's covering the back pass here. But then Speedy is all alone. Even the goalie, again, was at the bottom of the goal because watching for maybe like a low cut from QL here, which would have gotten passed down here. The goalie can dive that if he's ready for it, hiding into the bottom of the goal. So good positioning from the goalie, except for the fact that all of Project Mayhem missed Speedy because of the way that Illum sort of gave the illusion they were playing this like wide floor. They left this player wide open here, who can then cut in, and even the goalie's not ready because he hits the top pocket, and you can see the goalie stretches his arms up and just literally couldn't get there because they weren't ready for that. When they wasn't ready for that top pocket, because everything on Illum up until the last point when Speedy received the disc looked like they were playing the entire bottom half of the arena. And this is super dangerous, especially because this is something that Illum does a lot, where they play the bottom half of the arena. But every once in a while, they throw in this little mix-up here where they throw somebody up top, and it really can catch teams off guard because you see this just, again, nobody's covering this guy because they're all just covering this floor. They're covering the bottom. Every player in the arena, except for Speedy, was playing in the bottom half of the arena. And so having that one player super positioned really interestingly and unordinarily got them that really quick and easy goal. And in this clip, we have a Project Mayhem joust going into what looks like a preset play here with the player on Cloud to the player over there on the Merc block. Then a pass down to B-Love, but unfortunately the change from Illumidooty is able to stop it. Then QL is able to get a little bit of a loose pass up to the top trench near Popcorn, but it doesn't get picked back up by Burbs, and Illumidooty moves into a controlled offense on Project Mayhem's side. So what went wrong here? How did this seemingly decent quick possession by Project Mayhem go so bad all of a sudden? And this is kind of the dangers of having preset plays like this. You can tell when all the players rolled out, they all had an exact spot they were going to. Lob went right to the nest. The pass came immediately. The pass immediately went to that player there, and the pass tried to go there. But unfortunately, this pass here to B-Love was definitely the biggest mistake Project Mayhem made here that caused the turnover. It's because Palace is here. B-Love is positioning around here. So that pass is coming through this midline area, this middle lane. And you can see Illumidooty has a stack right here. They come up, they stop here, they're peeking. Palace should be able to see them. He should be able to either see them or get a call out from B-Love that the stack exists. And if that didn't happen, then maybe it's fine. But either way, they should know that the stack exists, and they should know that passing this lane either gets it picked if they dive at it fast enough, or like what happened here, B-Love gets the disc but doesn't have anywhere to go. Because he gets the disc here, but he doesn't have any passes because the pass from Law is still up on the ceiling when this pass comes through. Law is definitely not an open back pass. He might be able to make a long back pass to the tunnel, but that's going to be a slow back pass because he's moving forward. It's going to be not a very fast one, and then the stack is going to really get there anyway. And so this pass is kind of a suicide pass to B-Love because he gets the disc. He can maybe go for a quick shot back to Palace and then try and fight the chain. But other than that, there's not really any progress being made, and that's just the players following what I assume is a preset rollout there that they've got going on. And while preset rollouts aren't inherently bad because it lets you, it gives all the players on the team a good idea of what's going on, who's going to be where, and what everybody should be doing. It's important to not just go through them automatically as if like they're clockwork, because there's a lot of times where there'll be certain things that happen, like this chain covering this mid lane, that turn what would normally be a fine, like a zigzag passing play to get to the quick offensive end. It turns into a bad idea where it gives a free turnover because you're passing it to a player who doesn't, you're just giving him a disc and you're giving him nothing to do with this disc. And so he's immediately pressured by that stack. He receives a disc, raised arms because he had to reach up for it, barely gets it down to his waist before he gets stunned and drops it straight down. The stack came super quickly, and so that's why when you make plays with your teams, having just preset plays that go beyond like the first, maybe second pass is really dangerous because eventually if the more preset and pre-planned passes that you have set up, the easier it is for a team to read them and figure them out and just cut them off somewhere. And that's exactly what Illumidooty did here, is that they saw that these passes were coming, they saw where the next pass was going to go, and they just cut it with a chain. They had a chain in the middle there. So that Palace's only real option there was, instead of going with his what I assume is the pre-planned route and passing it to B-Love, he could have maybe gone for a back pass back up to Law, controlled the disc, slowed it down, or he didn't have to pass it here because he wasn't actually pressured here. The stack was stopped on the block. They weren't pushing him. He can maybe wait a little bit and get this pass off to B-Love. If he carries it a little bit further, baits the stack into jumping him, and then gets the pass off. Then he can fight the chain, maybe break it up. And if that happens, then B-Love's all of a sudden in a way better position because he doesn't have a stack immediately on him, and he can maybe push up. And if the chain stays stunned out well enough and long enough, then he can actually maybe even go for a 1v1 with the goalie here. But unfortunately, the pass came a little bit too quickly. The players may be working a little bit too much on autopilot here in the round, middle of round 2, and just unfortunately doesn't work out for them. So we're going to the last play of this video, where we have QL making up a nice pick and then finding a super deep pass to Speedy, who has a chain going, hits Burbs on the floor, and Burbs come up and gets a quick, very close save from the Law, and has a little bit of a wild clear, and the disc gets slapped back and forth between both teams until eventually resulting in a clear here from Project Mayhem. Now, something that happened here that's very interesting is QL's just situational awareness of what exactly his teammates were doing and where they were. And there's also A, due to comms, and B, due to just like keeping his head on a swivel, keeping an eye on this chain here. Because this pass to Speedy down here is in a vacuum very dangerous. Because he's got a player moving into goal, he's got a player covering him, and he's got two players kind of in line vertically, but also covering different lanes, who could both potentially move cores and choke him out, pressure him more. So he's very deep with minimal help, except for this chain that's coming in. And this pass, again, without the chain, is a very deep, basically a suicide pass. But this chain coming in makes this really good because this chain being here is a really good out for Speedy, and it's ahead of all the defenders, who are also split, so they can't be chaining. And so that provides his teammates with a 1v1 situation, which is basically the best you can ask for. And unfortunately, it doesn't end up paying off for Illum. Even though it was a good play, the save did end up happening. They just got to literally probably like an inch of going to the goal there. Because after the save, he wound up a little bit. But eventually, did end up, unfortunately, not working out for Illum. But again, something else that happened is that both teams, after this play, after he saved the disc, probably like not even an inch from accidentally own goaling that in this position here. After a situation like this, tension levels for every player in the arena, pretty much any player in the game, even in Master Tier, it happens to every team. Something that happens, and people's tension levels go up a little bit, and they start making just quick plays. B-Love immediately slaps the disc forward to into coverage. QL receives it and immediately makes a little bit of a sloppy pass over there and gets picked off. And eventually does end up getting cleared, but again, a bad clear because it bounced off the block here. So even though this play because Kyo is aware of this chain because of either due to comms or because he saw it, likely both. They were able to make this good play, but because of the all of a sudden, as soon as the save was made, as soon as that clear happened, both teams went into a little bit of panic mode, and you can see that if this pass had been maybe, whoops, either if he'd either slapped it down to the floor, bounced past it to the law here, or if he just slapped it straight up. He also had a player, his teammate right here was towards the middle of the block and could have gotten up there. He would have been the first one there. But instead just kind of makes a slap forward into Kyo's hands. Kyo, again, in a similar position, has maybe some decent options. This player on the wall actually somehow, after this pressure happens here, this player's still alone at midfield. This player's, I think, maybe not stunned, but this player's being covered by him. So this player's actually open here on the wall. He also has Burbs, who could have been a little bit of a better pass. Unfortunately, tried to lead him a little bit too much when Burbs was moving down instead of up. And so it goes back into the hands of Vanzi, who, again, still had that original player we saw a few seconds ago on Bowtie, but makes the clear through mid and ends up not getting quite out. I think that bounces back into their zone at some point. And so, but that's, again, that happens to literally every team. That's not a diss on these guys. They're both very good teams. But again, if either team had just taken an extra half second for either of these decisions, they could have turned this around in their favor a lot more heavily than it ended up going for Project Mayhem.